Hi. Okay, this is one of those days when things didn't quite work out the way we thought we had it planned. And the person that I'd invited to join us thought it was going to be tomorrow. And who knows how it happened? I don't know. We'll maybe figure it out or maybe won't. But a few of you may be sitting there wondering what happened. And so I'm going to use this time for a little while to just do a little conversation with myself. And if Adam is watching, he can join in too. Come on, Adam, help me out. Okay, here we go. Hello. Hi, you can join in on Zoom. I'm going to talk to myself, okay? Okay, thanks. Bye. Okay, he doesn't have to comb his hair because he doesn't have any. But he's going to make himself presentable so that you folks will be impressed, which is good. That was my assistant, Adam, who is a real peach. He's really nice and very helpful. Okay, so those of you who are just dying to know what else is going on in Project Save the World, well, I'll tell you, yeah, we have some things that have been going on. We've been working to improve the website. Of course, Project Save the World is not an organization. I think the world has plenty of organizations. We don't need another one. We just need to help the organizations that already exist that are trying to do their best to save the world. And there are many different ways of saving the world. And a lot of groups, I think, would do a better job if they sort of collaborated more, if we did more interdisciplinary kinds of communication and cooperation. And so our project Save the World is really almost nothing but a free or virtually free system of communication that's meant for people who are working on some global issue. And the 6 global issues that we have chosen to address in particular are ones that were chosen just because they are so scary. We have had poverty with us since the beginning of time, and hunger and disease and things. But what we have to worry about most are things that could become a catastrophe in a short period of time and actually threaten human existence on a big scale, massively. So the ones that we have chosen are primarily initially about war and weapons or other conflicts that could be violent. And this is just because that's what I always did. Most of my life has been, or at least as an adult, has been spent on working on the issues of peace and disarmament and conflict resolution and so on. I'm not very good at conflict resolution. I actually tend to make them worse because I get in there and I take sides and I get mad. I'm one of the conflict producers, but I try to support people who like to reduce conflict. Anyway, there we go. So I was a peace activist, and we decided that we needed to cooperate more with, for example, the people working on global warming. Here comes Adam, bless his heart. And so I'm going to tell him where I am. So we decided that we would work. Adam, I'm giving kind of a chronology of what we in Project Save the World are all about. And you can pitch in when you kind of see where I'm going with this, by all means. So about 3 years ago, we had a big conference called How to Save the World in a Hurry, where we brought together people working on 6 global threats, the war and weapons issue, the global warming issue, and then people working on famine, and then people working on pandemics and on radioactive contamination, that is the health effects primarily of being exposed to radiation, in the environment or as a result of nuclear power or nuclear weapons. And finally, cyber risks, which is the big up and coming one. So we brought together people and we created this thing called Platform for Survival, which is 25 different planks or proposals that, if they were all adopted, would greatly reduce the risk of all 6 of these global threats, because since some of the planks actually work to combat more than one of the global threats, because they're empirically and causally interdependent to some extent. So then we started creating this website. Well, we've just spent some time having the website kind of, I don't want to call it renovated, but sort of we kept changing it as we went along, and it began to look cluttered. So we now have a kind of a freshened up website that is a whole lot more user-friendly. So here's the situation. We put all of our activities, most of them right there, on the website, and it's available for free. And we want to reach out to NGOs and civil society organizations around the world who are working on one or more of these global threats, and want to make it a place where people come to exchange ideas. So we have every day I do these talk shows and we put them up on our website. And nowadays it's going to be easier for you to find them. That is, you go to the website, which is tosavetheworld.ca. And then all you have to do is, in the search bar, you type in the name of one of the panelists that you're looking for. And you usually will know at least one, and often there's only one panelist talking about a particular issue on a particular day. So if you find that name, you type it in, or if you know it, you type it in, and it'll take you to a list of all the things this person has contributed. Mostly they'll be the talk show, and you can click on that and watch it. Or if you want to listen to it as a podcast, you can do that too. And we largely are now having transcripts of these shows as well. So you'll be able to read it if you'd rather do that. We have them categorized by type. So you can either find it by searching for the particular title or the panelist, or you can search under one of the categories. Say if you're looking for shows or articles about famine, let's say, then there's a category called famine, and you click on that and you'll see some various options. So it makes it easier for you to find things. I want to encourage you very much to share your own ideas, because this is not just a place for us to put up articles for you, but rather for you to exchange thoughts and opinions and even debate things online. So we're, I have my 90th birthday coming up. And that's going to be the 29th of August. And that's a day when we normally have a global town hall. The last Sunday of every month, we have a meeting by Zoom, which everybody, all the activists in the world are welcome to join. And we talk about whatever's on people's minds. Well, that's the 29th. So we're going to have a birthday party for me. Adam, will you be so kind as to tell people what you have been thinking up for my 90th birthday and how people can participate?
Well, I guess one thing is that we are, as you have mentioned, going to be doing the global town hall on your 90th birthday, and we will be doing some publicity around that and inviting people to attend with a cake and a cookie to celebrate with you, but also to invite them to comment directly on the website and the materials on the website. Mm-hmm. Now, I know this isn't going to be a huge party, especially with the pandemic measures still in place, but at least with the online element, we don't have to limit the number of people that can attend. So we will be doing a lot of global outreach with that.
Mm-hmm. And that's going to be my birthday present, right? Because, people often send birthday greetings. Well, it's really nice to receive them, but that's not what I want. What I want, instead of a happy birthday greeting on Facebook or some other way, I want people to go to the website and share your ideas about what we need to do to save the world from whatever you think we need to save it from. The 6 global threats are what we're working on, but you may have some additional ideas. And there are particular angles that we need to take. For example, just yesterday, I did a talk show with Lloyd Axworthy about the world's refugee problem. Well, we don't have a special category called refugees, saving refugees, but that is part of what we have to deal with. We are going to have and do have a massive flow of refugees around the world. And we need a better plan for accommodating their needs. They're certainly not being handled very well, adequately now at all. So that's what I hope that people will do. The way you do it is you simply go to savetheworld.ca, which is the website that I want to get everybody to use as kind of a meeting place. And then you look at something that interests you, either one of the talk shows or some of the articles and discussions that have taken place about the various 25 planks that constitute our platform for survival. And you find something that interests you, and maybe somebody has said something you want to reply to, feel free, reply. There's a place there. It's pretty easy to learn to do it. You can attach a photo if you want to, or a graphic or something. And or watch one of the talk shows, or listen to it as a podcast, or comment on it as a transcript. But start a conversation, and if somebody replies to you, we'll let you know, so you can come back and respond. Okay, Adam, I think we can also share with them a little bit about our new acquisition yesterday. We've been trying to get something from England for a long time, but because of COVID, our communication hasn't worked too well. But we have a new list. Can you tell people what you're working on now, Adam?
Yes, so after, I guess, several months of attempting to obtain a copy, we graciously received from Albert Beale at Houseman's in London a copy of the World Peace Database file. So that has greatly expanded our capacity to do outreach to peace-oriented organizations. So I've been processing those lists over the last day or so and adding them into our mailing lists and coordinating outreach with them. I think that nearly doubles the number of peace organizations that we have contact information for. So it's very exciting news. And thank you to Ken Simons for coordinating that.
Yeah, I added it up. It looks like we've got well over 9,000 email addresses to organizations that we are going to contact. We don't always have email addresses for people. And what you can do is, if you want to be sure and subscribe to what we are calling a newsletter, which will go out every now and then when I get in the mood, I guess, you can, there's a place to do that online. Isn't there, Adam? Place to subscribe? Should be.
Yes, we I think on our website do have somewhere for people to subscribe to the newsletter.
Mm-hmm. And if you want to endorse the 25 planks, the platform for survival, we don't necessarily think that everybody in the world is enthusiastic about all 25. You may have some doubt about one or two, or wonder whether you really support this or not. But as long as you support, say, 20 out of the 25 or something, that'll be fine. It'd be great if you put your name on there, and we'll and then feel free to use that platform. Because your group, if a whole bunch of different groups get behind the same list of issues so that we're all in alignment, then that makes a massive social movement consisting of a whole bunch of sort of independent social movements, people that have been working on food issues or on pandemic issues. if we get together, there are most things that we all agree on for sure. And I think probably almost all of us agree with basically all of them. So, if we show some and then take it to your organization and say, maybe the whole organization would like to adopt this as a, I don't know, as our own proposal, what we want to accomplish in the world. Is maybe more ambitious than you would have thought to do, but with large numbers of people behind it, we can afford to be ambitious. And in fact, the world requires it, because we really have very important things that we have to handle. Obviously, currently, some of the most ominous developments every day, frankly. Every day I get some new piece of news that makes me think, is humankind going to survive this? It's really a question. I think yesterday it was about limestone, believe it or not, in the Arctic, especially in Siberia. They've been finding releases of methane, and they because of the heat, because Siberia has been really hot, and they try to figure it out. And what it is the limestone contains methane, and somehow it's being released. And methane is a catastrophe in the making, because it's much more of a serious global greenhouse gas than even carbon dioxide. So that's just number 150 of the list of ominous things that we have to deal with. And we can't afford to put our heads in the sand, I think. Adam, do you have anything else that you'd like to share with the world? I've already told them how helpful and how much a part of this project you have been. And
well, what would you like me to talk about?
Oh, well, you seem to have a lot more. I think you're a lot more current than I am about radiation hazards. I think you've been participating more in reading and participating in these online discussions about the risks of disposing of waste from nuclear reactors, and the hazards that have already been created in other countries, such as the Russian place and the Marshall Islands and Fukushima and even Northern Ontario. So do you have anything you'd like to make people aware of that you want to describe here?
Oh gosh, I do follow that material, but now that you've asked me to think of something in specific, I've immediately blanked out on everything I've read in the past week.
Okay.
No, I can't think of anything right now, because I wasn't really prepared to participate in this discussion. I got about 5 minutes notice, of course, with the other panelists didn't show up. If there's a specific subtopic of those you'd like me to talk about, I might be able to put something together, but I am really reeling right now, trying to figure out what exactly you would like me to elaborate on.
Well, I don't want to, sure, I'm throwing something at you that we didn't expect. I didn't expect it either, but it's kind of fun to see what comes to the surface when you're suddenly confronted with the opportunity to share your thoughts and you didn't have any thoughts ready.
Well, I've been reading a lot about various different things, but I'm not sure if there are anything that people would find interesting.
Okay,
for example, there was just a fascinating article that I shared with the Arctic Nuclear Weapons Free Zone group last night, discussing the notion of portable nuclear reactors and how the United States military and other armed forces around the world have been attempting to develop a form of portable nuclear reactor for decades, and how each of these have so far been unsuccessful and often associated with environmental contamination and various radiation-related hazards. Now, the interesting thing with that is that we are also seeing a shift towards the development of smaller, or a push rather, for smaller nuclear reactor classes that are not these huge for example, can-do reactors that we see at Pickering, Darlington, and elsewhere, but the small modular reactors. So I would not necessarily call a small modular reactor a portable nuclear reactor, but the shift towards smaller nuclear technologies is certainly something that's very interesting. And there's been some articles about that recently. And I just opened an article today regarding the Russian context, and I've yet to have a chance to read it in detail, but it appears that the Russian State Atomic Energy Agency, Rosatom, has recently had an Arctic Day. So Rosatom is looking to expand operations into the north, and that is, of course, concerning because we already have seen lots of environmental contamination in the north of Russia from petroleum extraction and other activities. For example, we do know that there are radioactive waste dumps along the Russian Arctic coast and just off the shore in the Kara and Barents Sea. But Rosatom has, with their recent Arctic Day, been setting up a whole bunch of corporate agreements and other agreements for example, the development of a class of nuclear ships that could be used to transport goods across the Northern Sea route, or the development of a nuclear reactor facility in Russia's Far East. So that's something that I'd like to hear a bit more about regarding, various Arctic-related initiatives and the radiological technologies.
Yeah, and you actually also once told me about some abandoned sites of things throughout northern parts of Russia where they use some kind of radioactive monitoring system or something. What do you remember what that was about?
Oh yes, so that's kind of two different overlaying subjects regarding Russia and radiological technologies in the north. So the first thing that maybe I should talk about would be the radioisotope thermoelectric generators, or the RTG. So back in the Cold War, the Soviet Union deployed several thousand, I think the estimates were up to 2,500, although there's now less of them, of these small radiological powered stations. And these would be, for example, remote beacons for radios and weather stations and lighthouses. But they used often strontium-90 cores, and it was from the decay of the radioactive source that heat would be generated, and from that electricity. So in the past 2 decades or so, there's been a program to track down these old radiological sources in these remote areas and safely retrieve them and then decommission them. And that decommissioning does occur at Mayak. Now, one of the big concerns is that some of these radiological sources, they're in some cases they look like they're about a 500 kilogram metal cube, basically, with the radiological source inside. But scrap metal harvesters really like these because they can take them apart and sell the scrap metal. But there were several cases where these old radiological sources went missing, or resulted in localized environmental contamination. And these weren't just used in the Arctic, but also other remote areas like the Caucasus Mountains and things like that. Now, the other thing in the north is that Russia, for many, many years, used the Arctic Sea, specifically the Barents Sea and the Kara Sea, as a radiological waste dump. So from my understanding, there's an estimated 17,000 tons of radiological debris on the bottom of the Kara Sea. And that includes everything from barrels of radioactive waste to supplies that were used in the northern weapons testing. And in some cases, they scuttled entire submarines. So there's somewhere like 10 or maybe even more entire nuclear reactors sitting on the bottom of the Kara Sea. And that, of course, is leading to a lot of concerns with the opening up of the Northern Sea route for shipping and other activities. Russia's Ministry of Fisheries, for example, recently declared that they want to open the Kara and Barents Sea to fishing industries. And of course, when there's 17,000 tons of radioactive debris on the bottom of that ocean, that does lead to concerns about what exactly is going to be fished out of there and whether those are be, contaminated at all. And on top of that, we're also seeing resource exploration in the north. So oil drilling, the largest natural gas field in the world, is on the Yamal Peninsula, just to the south of this. So if they're going to start doing oil drilling up in the Kara and the Barents Sea, is there any risk that we're going to see the radioactive waste dumps disturbed? And Russia did recently, in the past year or so, released a statement saying that they were going to be coordinating the cleanup of these. But there were even calls back during the Yeltsin administration in around 1992, where they said, oh, yes, we do need to clean up some of these radiological waste dumps, but they didn't want to put the funds towards it, so it never happened.
Mhm.
So is the cleanup actually going to occur, or is it just going to be a case of it's going to get pushed and pushed and pushed and never actually happen?
Thank you. Okay, that's the kind of thing that you tend to find little tidbits of juicy information like that, which excite and worry a person once you know about it. But probably we would never have heard about it if Adam hadn't ferreted it out of some obscure source. I don't know. Thank you for that. Actually, this is all part of just one of the global threats that we try to make people aware of, and people share information about. And the whole thing of radioactive contamination is one, it's not the maybe even the worst of the threats facing us, who knows. But a couple of weeks ago I did a conversation with a guy named Gregor Yachko, and that to me was a very illuminating conversation, because this was the man who had been the head of the Nuclear Regulatory Commission in the United States, which is the organization that is responsible for monitoring and guaranteeing the security and the safety of the nuclear industry, the power plants that are nuclear around the U.S. And he had, this is largely a political appointment, unfortunately. And he has a book called Confessions of a Rogue Nuclear Regulator, I believe is the title. And you can guess from the title of his book what he has to say. Basically, he said that although he was in charge of making sure that there were, all of the safety hazards that he could identify would be cleaned up, he could not in the long term really be particularly sanguine about the safety of the nuclear power plants, because number one, there are a lot of things that you can't anticipate, things that go wrong that just were not exactly expected or couldn't have been expected. So you can't figure out all the things that might happen. But not only that, but when you do figure out that there is a real hazard, he said that he often couldn't implement it because the nuclear industry is run by people who have vested financial interests at stake, and they lobby their congresspersons, and they make it just impossible for the regulator to take strong measures sometimes that he thinks need to be taken. So basically, his conclusion is that nuclear power plants, he can't say that they're safe, and that he thinks nobody ever will be able to say that they're safe. The effort to make them safer is all, what he tried to do, but he was eventually unsuccessful in his own opinion. Well, I take that as a fairly serious commentary. And, it speaks to a very important ongoing debate now about whether or not, for the sake of solving global warming, we have to accept and try to rush through the creation of nuclear power plants as an alternative to fossil fuels. And there are a lot of reasons to hope that we can, if only for financial reasons, that the cost of producing nuclear power is way too expensive compared to other forms of renewable energy. And therefore, we can put probably a quicker to install the kinds of hydro and solar and wind and other sources of energy that are renewable than try to build nuclear power plants. So I think that is where we stand on this, although certainly different people continue to have very different points of view about it. Okay, I think we have covered a little bit, don't you think, Adam? I mean, our viewers may be rather surprised at what came up today. Let me say what's going to happen tomorrow, because we have a speaker coming up from Davis, California. He's a professor of, I guess, animal husbandry, or I don't know what they call that department there. Davis is one of the campuses of the University of California, but it's the one that specializes in agriculture. So they have, I would say, the most important departments they have there are agriculture and, of course, animal husbandry and so on. And this man is an expert on the gases that come out of cows, both ends of cows, and it's largely methane. I understand they also emit hydrogen sulfide, but I hadn't heard him talk about that. The concern that a lot of people have is about whether or not we should all give up eating meat, because these cows that we tend to, or many, not just cows, but other ruminant animals, animals with this extra stomach that can digest cellulose and grass, whether those animals are harmful on balance to the ecological system of the world by emitting methane. Well, the secret is they don't create it. They get the methane from digesting the grasses, and then they produce it. They are recycling methane that already was taken up by the grass. So it's a circular kind of situation where the grass absorbs the methane, and the cows eat the grass, and they send the methane back into the atmosphere again. But it's not adding anything to the total amount of methane in the world. And as a matter of fact, I think you'll find that there are many people who are well establishing the notion that the grass itself requires the presence of animals to maintain the fertility of the soil and the pasture lands. So without the animals, the world's grasslands are drying up. In fact, much of the world's land is becoming desert, and so we have to think about the importance that animals play, large animals, especially ones that eat and can digest cellulose, which people can't. You and I can't eat grass. I mean, we could, but I don't think it wouldn't taste very good anyway. Okay, so that's part of the conversation that we'll have tomorrow. And I imagine all of you vegetarians are going to chime in and send a question in, because if you watch this on YouTube, you can type in a question or a comment, and Adam will be on the lookout for your comments. And if he sees a really interesting question, he's authorized to come in on the show and ask it. So look forward to hearing from people who are going to be watching this tomorrow, which is Friday, the 6th of August. Anything else that we should add, Adam, or shall we say goodbye to folks?
Well, we have some great shows coming up in the next few weeks, and we've had some great shows recently. So definitely keep an eye on our website and for our posters. Mm-hmm. And yes, feel free to ask questions and participate in the YouTube chat and things like that, as well as the Global Town Hall at the end of the month.
29th of August, 2 to 4 p.m. Eastern time. All right. Well,
and happy early birthday.
Yeah, and bring a piece of cake or a cookie to the computer, because everybody's going to have a little birthday party. I'm going to blow out one candle. I don't think I can manage 90 candles. So, Adam, you're going to put a candle on my piece of cake, right?
Yes.
And we'll both have a piece of cake. All right. Thank you, guys. And thank you, Adam, for contributing in this lively and totally spontaneous conversation. I'll see some of you folks tomorrow. Thanks. Bye.